You know, I've reached a point in my life where, or maybe I should say a point in my maturity as a man. I guess I reached this point maybe, I guess I've been this way for a while. As my son's mother would say, that I was always this way. I guess my late 20s, early 30s. I'm still in my early 30s, but I just don't give a fuck about pretty much anything that women have to say. There's some cats on here on YouTube. Well, I mean, there's plenty of cats, I'm sure, but as far as that I'm aware of, there's some cats who are even subscribed to me who actually listen to videos done by women, which is cool. But I found that I can't listen to a video, a female talk on a video. It's boring, usually lacking in insight. Just no real depth. Lacks a certain sharpness. And I mean, I prefer to have my intellect stimulated by a man. You know, I feel like that's what men do. Like, we sharpen, what is it? I forgot how the saying goes, but we sharpen each other. You know, I look to women for nurturing, whether that be through sex, whether that be through a meal, or just emotional intimacy. I'm not attracted to women with an intellect. It's superfluous. As far as in a relationship with me, I feel like I have enough intellect, okay, for the both of us. That's not what I need you to do. But that's relationship shit, you know. Which, I mean, I guess that's what this video is about. I kind of took a little detour for a second and went into the videos. I guess I just wonder how cats can, how brothers sit through these females. But I mean, it's just a difference clearly in our mentalities. I'm not dissing brothers who listen to females' videos, but I just find them insufferable, very, very boring. And I guess it's one of those things where I don't look to women for that, and so it's like they're out of place. It's inappropriate. I guess it would be kind of like females trying to watch a man do videos about how to properly breastfeed. You know what I'm saying? Like, she would rather, and I know that, like, she would rather hear from a woman. I think that matters of the intellect and you know, deep analysis, I don't see women doing that, and I don't. So it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. And I'm seeing in my relationships with women over these last few years, I've become, I can't even say, like, I almost have a zero tolerance for any sort of intellectual input from a woman outside of her just bouncing off of what I'm saying. Not necessarily that she has to agree. She needs to have her own mind. I don't want a doormat. But at the same time, I don't expect her to talk a lot unless she's chiming in on something that I'm saying. Partially because I'm selfish and a bit narcissistic, but also because I don't think that there's anything else that a woman should be doing with her mental life when she's in a relationship, other than focusing on that man, and if they have children, the children. And I think that if she is stimulating her mind, it should be with reading materials or activities that reinforce motherhood and being a wife. You have to be very, very strict with women, because it's so easy for them to get caught up in some bullshit and then bring some toxic shit home, you know, that will destroy the relationship from the inside out. You know, women are not, you know, women, the more a woman is an independent thinker, the more problems she causes because of her inability to really self-regulate. The woman is the original, you know, she's a real narcissist. And because, you know, she's immersed in that subjective state or mode, she's easily manipulated, easily led astray, you know. And so she shouldn't be left to her own devices. This is ancient wisdom. You know, men of old knew that, you know, trying to, you know, educate women and fill their minds with all of this information would only serve to confuse them or give them a bunch of ideas that they wouldn't really know what to do with, wouldn't really understand the implications of, you know. There's no point. All a woman needs to do is fuck a man, feed a man, and take care of his children. That's it. You know, I think when you start talking about cultivating a woman's intellect, you have to be very, very careful with that. You see, because, again, because of how her inability, her relative to a man anyway, her diminished capacity for thinking rationally and objectively means that she's going to have poor judgment. And so filling her head up with a bunch of stuff, you know, is you know, it's self-defeating for the man who would have a relationship with her, and even for herself. It's like giving a child a pair of scissors, you know. So I don't know. I'm at the point where, and I guess, like I said, I've been here for some years now. I don't really give a fuck about what a woman has to say. I was just on the phone with this chick, and you know, we've been talking for a while, and she gets aggravated a lot because she says I'm very dismissive to her, and I am. And she says that you know, I don't really care about what she thinks, and I don't. And you know, I admit it. You know, I don't really give a fuck what she thinks, and you know, so you have to be careful what you encourage in these women, because, see, a woman, because of the lack of discipline and because of her diminished capacity for thinking rationally, see, she's not going to be able to, you know, how do I say it? See, if you're going to be independent, you have to be able to correct yourself, right? This is part of adulthood and maturity, right? One of the biggest indicators of being an adult is being able to correct yourself, which is part of being responsible and accountable, right? But because women are so emotional, so irrational, so subjective, that means that they'll get something and run with it, even if it kills them or hurts someone else. We see this all the time. I talked about how there's a natural conflict of interest between men and women, where a man has a greater interest in the truth right? Veracity in any given situation. Whereas a woman's commitment is to palatability, not necessarily what's right, but what feels good. So when you talk about a woman having an intellect, well, the problem with that is she has all this information, but there's no accountability. So if you cultivate this kind of shit in a woman, then what you're going to do is create someone who's going to argue with you, argue, but you guys will never be able to really grow together or resolve anything, because she largely lacks the ability to accept truth, objective truth, even where it's inconvenient. And so in cultivating the intellect of your woman, you're creating an enemy. Essentially, that's ultimately what you're doing. Okay? Part of what makes a man fit for leadership is his capacity for self-denial. And when I say self-denial, I'm speaking more in terms of the way his mind works, and him being able to subjugate his prejudices, preconceived notions, biases, etc., to objective reality, that which is actual and factual. That sort of self-denial. This is what rational thought is based upon. One being able to subdue his subjective mental life and observe what is actual and factual. And because a woman can't do that very well, she's not fit to be an intellectual, you know what I'm saying, or to really give input, because she's not able to really live by that. This is why she's not a principled creature. She's not a creature of conviction. She goes whichever way the wind blows. So why would you fill her mind with all of this information, you know, all of this knowledge, you know, that ultimately she's not built to handle? You see, because the knowledge and information that we have, it makes demands on us, on our conscience, on our consciences. You see what I'm saying? It makes demands on us. And a woman is not going to be interested in that. She's going to be the ultimate intellectual masturbator. She's not going to be the one to really abide by any principles or, you know, internalize new information and therefore transform herself and her mental life and her behavior patterns. No, none of that's going to happen. So I don't know. I don't. Of course, no, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. I don't really want you to you don't need to read that much unless, you know, again, of course, I want you to be literate and be able to read traffic signals and shit like that and be able to drive and, you know, even have a college education. But with very, you know, really high school is cool. I shouldn't say college. You don't even need to go to college. You just graduate high school, because if you do that, then you're totally equipped to get around in society and take care of business, you know, do what you need to do, balance your checkbook, make purchases, you know, put fuel in the car, groceries, all of that kind of shit. But you don't need degrees now. From a practical standpoint, of course, with the economy and capitalism and all that, I understand the practical value of a woman having an advanced degree or certifications and whatnot, just in terms of the money it can bring in. But of course, you know, therein lies the dilemma where it's like, okay, does she go and get this advanced education, which makes her more, you know, better able to make money to provide for herself and of course to contribute to her family, but then at what cost? Because career women obviously don't make good wives and mothers. Okay, so, but I'm just saying, I don't give a fuck about a woman's intellect, and I find it annoying, at least, and sometimes even offensive, when a woman is rattling off at the mouth about intellectual matters. That's just not what they're built for. So I guess you can call me your quintessential male chauvinist pig. I personally don't give a fuck because I know that everything that I'm saying is based in truth, timeless truth about, it's based on the what we understand about the makeup of the psycho-emotional makeup of a man versus a woman, and how we should relate based on that, romantically and whatnot. So I mean, I understand we live in an age where the men as well as the women will think that what I'm saying is just absurd and I'm just some weirdo and I'm crazy and I'm an asshole and I'm, whatever else. So if they get real psycho analytical, they'll say, oh, he's actually insecure and he's projecting this and that and all this other bullshit. When in reality, I think I would say I am the classic man. I think the guys today, these simps, are very, very a new breed, a new phenomenon, if you will. Because from what I've read, I mean, we know that throughout history, they say women have been oppressed. Hardly. They haven't been oppressed. They've played the role that they were supposed to play. But the men, I think most of the men throughout history thought the way I think with regard to a woman's position.